Are you looking to create a great relationship with someone? On today's show, we are going to be talking about and sharing what you can do to attract a healthy relationship into your
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Manifestation Mindset, where we teach you about the mindset of manifesting, excuse me,
life. We're all
uh,
tongue tied today.
overcoming emotional challenges and breaking through limitations that hold us back. You can attract and live the life that you truly want to have. We are your hosts. I'm Dr. Aaron Garcia.
And I'm Veronica Mendez Garcia, and we go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific. And if you like to subscribe to our channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button. And if you like our episodes, give us a thumbs up. And remember to click the bell icon so you get reminders of when we go live.
So today, we're talking about attracting healthy relationships. It is the first week of February, and it's all about relationships. It's Valentine's Day is coming up this coming weekend, and what a great opportunity to talk about designing not just the life that we want to live, but also designing who we would love to live that life with. And this really hits close to home because I remember years ago, and this is probably back in 2011. And Veronica and I had not met at this time, and I was single at the time. I was starting my career, and I was living by myself, and I felt like this void. Everything I say I wanted. I had a good career, had the place I wanted to live at, right on the ocean, but there was that hole that something was missing that I wanted to share with that someone with, and I remember I went to an event around that time, and this was a time where it was, for practitioners, and I was going through a healing process for myself through a few days of a process. And one of the things I worked on was the area of relationships, and maybe areas that I still needed to heal, things I had to figure out where my energy was and why I was not attracting the relationships that I wanted. And I really broke through a lot of things that week, and really started to define what it is that I truly wanted. And I wrote that down, what I wanted in a relationship. And it was the first time I really sat down and said, "This is exactly what I want." And I remember in about a year later, actually it was 6 months later, Veronica and I met, and we started dating. And I remember 2 years into our relationship, I was going through I was going through my old notes and my books, and I found that paper that I wrote. And I remember, and I had completely forgot about it, but I remember reading that to her, and I realized that I had attracted exactly what I wanted in my life. And I was just so grateful in that moment. And I know that if that's something that we can attract, we can also help you do it because we understand the process.
But there was some steps, along the way that you had to take to get to that point to
Yeah.
attract what you wanted, and a lot of it is doing all the inner work, working on ourselves in order to attract what you say you want. So if you wouldn't have worked on yourself, then who knows where we would be today?
Even if we wouldn't even met, because
Yeah.
that's the way law of attraction works. Because again, if maybe you're in a relationship right now, or maybe you're looking to get into a relationship, and you would love to have that perfect someone in your life. Well, we have to be able to match the energy of what that's like. And there's a few steps that we need to take in order to get to that point. And whether you're trying to improve the relationship you have right now, or make it even better, or you want to attract that into you. And we're going to talk more about how we attract it, because that's all about our mindset. That's all about our energy, and what can we do to change the way we think and also the way we feel to be able to create that.
Also, you mentioned attracting the perfect someone or the perfect relationship. Relationships really, there's really not, like, I would say, like, the perfect where there's like everything goes great all the time. Like, there's always going to be some form of challenge.
Yeah.
So, it does take, some effort on your own part to become that person that you want to attract at the beginning. Because if you don't work on yourself and you're expecting others to change around you, it's not going to work. You have to do the inner work yourself, and be that person that you say you want. Like, if you want someone to respect you, you have to respect others. It kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah. And then when you attract that relationship that you want, then you have to maintain that. You have to always improve on that. And that's when there's more work that needs to be done. But the first thing we want to take a look at when we are wanting to create something, we have a vision in our mind of what we want our relationships to look like. And the first step is always to identify what is it that is you want. And you my type my words. So you want to identify what you want. That is the first key you have to really come to have a clear vision on, because if you don't know what that looks like, then you're just living by default, and whatever happens in your relationships, whatever goes on around you, you're just allowing it to come to you rather than creating it deliberately.
Yeah, and also when you decide I want this type of person, um, you also have to be okay with receiving love, but also giving love. Like if you're not okay receiving love, how are you supposed to attract anyone?
Hmm.
And there's a lot of people that have this issue because growing up there's challenges sometimes, especially in the home with the parents fighting and things like that, or you see mom and dad, but then they're the people that love you, but then if you come from abuse and all this type of history, that could get in the way of the relationships that you want, because then it's like in the background, it's in the back of the mind, like, oh well, what if I trust them or I give them everything and then they end up hurting me, that type of thing. So there's always something in the background that can interfere or maybe cause some issues in relationships. So if you pay attention to that and just see what comes up, you might pinpoint exactly what
This is a question we get often here
it
on the show, or clients coming to us, and they would ask, like, why do I have such a hard time attracting a relationship in my life? And we have to look at the pattern. We have to look at the history of the person. But a lot of times, the commonality we find is there's some type of a fear there, and we put up this. You can put up this
is.
resistance to bringing that relationship in, because we can say we want something, but at a subconscious level, there may be some fear attached to that, and we start to create this energy of pushing away. And so, what a lot of times that fear is, and you just mentioned, what if it's that fear of, what if they hurt me? And I open myself up, and they really hurt me. What would that feel like? That would feel terrible. So we tend to avoid things that can be considered painful. And we do this unconsciously. And that's the energy we put out. And so when we're talking to these people, whether online or in person, a lot of it started to make sense to them, because they were putting up this wall of, and they would create all these excuses. Oh, this person, they do this or that. I'm not sure about them. Well, they're already creating this fear ahead of time. When they say what they want in the beginning, they're already putting out why they shouldn't have that relationship, or why it's not working out for them, because there's that fear of that being hurt, and that's what stops them from attracting what they want.
And not only attracting, but if they're already in a relationship, they can sabotage it because they have that whatever issue about being hurt in the background, in the back of their mind, that's still there. So then maybe when the relationship starts to get a little more serious, then they can either retreat or they'll create something, some form of issue, or attract an issue into their life to where the relationship ends up splitting apart. And I know I used to do that when I was younger, get into a relationship, but then if it was getting a little too serious, it was almost like, I don't know, like uncomfortable in a sense. So sometimes, I'd either end the relationship or I'd create something to end it. So it's very interesting. And then once you work on it, then it's different. But the real thing, it when it comes to relationships, is really, like I mentioned earlier, working on your inner self and clearing out all these negative experiences that you've had, either when you started first date, or even go back a little further to when you were growing up. So it could be relationships with your parents, friends, siblings, whatever that may be, because that is still in the whole area of relationships, and it can affect you in your personal
Absolutely. And so we talked about earlier,
relationship.
when we are wanting to attract what we truly want in a relationship, is the first thing you have to write down and identify is what it is that you do want. And so you take your time, as much time as you need, and really describe what that relationship looks like. And what we really want you to put on there is what you would want, not whatever what somebody else might think or whatever people taught you. Is like what would be right for you, where no one's gonna read, no one's gonna judge it. You just get this. Hey, I'm gonna write. Here's exactly what it is that I want. Put it out. It's just a piece of paper right now. You're putting your thoughts on in words. You're putting them on paper, and you get to see that. And notice how you start to feel when you write that out. And that is one of the key things. Is once you identify, is you want to be able to see yourself in that relationship and feel just like it's like my reading. Some people would read like novels or watch romantic movies, and you hear them say sometimes, "I wish I could have that type of relationship," or whoever the man, the woman, whatever that might be. And it's like you can. It's like because you can almost feel the energy in what that relationship looks like. And so, whatever that looks like, is you get to write it down. I want something similar. Like take those bits and pieces of, yeah, I would like that in the relationship. Take it over here. Maybe look at other people's relationship that you admire, and put that into the piece, but make it your own. And when you write that down, you see, you feel that, and notice how good that feels to be in that relationship. You can do this in your imagination, because your subconscious mind that doesn't really recognize what's reality and what's not. And so you get to make that up in your mind, and that's how you start to shift your energy and your vibration.
Yeah, so it then you said it clearly is feel. So it's feeling the emotion of what it's like to have that relationship, what it's like to be with that person that you say you want. And it's also like how are you in that situation as well? Are you being courteous? Are you being respectful? How are you portraying yourself to be? And who's this person that you've become to attract that person or the love of your life? So it's like we have to become the person already like there. Like you have to become that person that you want to attract in a sense. So if you want what all the little qualities and everything that you want in a person, become that first. And then you will attract the other, your significant other or the love of your life. So it's interesting how, you have to be in that right energy, that right vibration in order to attract what you
So going back to our prehistory story,
want. Mm-hmm.
and after that event where I wrote everything out, well, it wasn't like it all came together in a week or a weekend. It was I felt something renewed. I was there. I did a lot of healing on myself, letting things go that I was holding on to for so long that I had never dealt with, and it was a lot of emotional healing. A lot of energy that I was releasing, and I just felt so good. I felt so refreshed after that event, and I just had that piece of paper. I had a vision board, and I just here's what I wanted. I just let it go, went about my day, but I was feeling so much better. But not only that was I started to realize I wanted to work on myself more. I got a little more serious. Like I want to really have this type of relationship in my life, and so I had to look at what is it within me that needed to change. Did I need to be more outgoing? Did I have to let go of some more things that I needed to work on? And I had to start practicing the vibration or the energy that of the person that has that type of relationship. And it was interesting because I was really working on that. I was working on my confidence, my speaking skills, all kinds of things. And 6 months later, that's when Veronica and I met.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think 6 months, that's pretty quick. But you had to understand the work that I was doing in between. It wasn't like I wrote it down on paper, I let it go, and that's all I had to do. I just sat on the couch waiting for it to show up on my doorstep. No, it didn't happen. There's going to be some steps you're going to need to take once you identify, but you have to identify and keep seeing yourself in that relationship that you want almost daily, and really see what that feels like. And you might need to edit a few things over time. And you might say, okay, this is what I want, and you get in a relationship, and let's say that relationship doesn't pan out the way you want it to. Well, now you got a little more clarification on, okay, this is, I don't want this, but I do want this, and you get to edit that. And when you have that solid in your vision and on your writing, you'll be surprised what shows up in your life.
And a lot of people they want to blame outside circumstances or everyone else around them for what they're attracting in their life. So sometimes they do attract people, but then it's like the same type of person but in a different body. So it's like, why do I always attract these types of people, or the people that always do this to me? Like I'm always dating people that do this, but you're the one that's attracting that based on what's going on the inside, based on your vibration, based on how you feel about yourself, how you feel about others. And that's what, some people don't understand is like it all starts within. So if you want your, like I mentioned earlier, your outside to change, and when it comes to a relationship, you have to change first. And so be the one to create that change first, and then you'll attract what you desire. But when Aaron and I, before we met, I was married at the and I wasn't happy, and I I was kind of debating, like, should I leave, should I stay? Like I didn't want to stay, but I had a daughter. Well, I have a daughter, and it was hard to make that decision because of her. If I was single, I would have been gone a long time ago, but that's a different story. So um, I had
I mean,
gone,
without kids, not
yeah,
single.
well, yeah, without, if I didn't have my daughter, I would have been gone. Because it changes when you have kids. But at that time, I was looking, I was looking into the new year, and just kind of getting like a guidance outlook for the new year. And I went to this group. It was all women, and they were doing kind of like psychic readings or like New Year outlook type of thing. And I had all these women tell me something like almost like you deserve better, and so there was some issues in the relationship, and at that time, like I wasn't really exactly sure about everything, and they just said, oh, you're going to meet someone, and they kind of described them, and then so I'm like, oh, interesting. So but I at that time I wasn't wanting to meet anyone. Like I didn't really care if I met someone or not. And And then a few months passed by. It was 4 months after that when I met Aaron. And at that time, I was thinking, well, if I could stay here until I save up money, and then I can leave. But then I was thinking to myself, how long is that going to take? So then I
Mhm.
just went for it, and I said, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just going to do it and leave. And I did, and after that I felt like more free, like oh, like I should have left a long time ago, but I
Yeah.
didn't.
And how many relationships do we see people stay in that they're not happy with?
Mhm.
All because, again, based on a fear. Like, if I leave, what happens? What about what's going to happen with the kids? What are other people going to think? Where am I going to
Mhm.
go? And it's these fears that keep people stuck in those relationships, and they become. You can tell they're just really, really unhappy, and like their whole spirit, their energy just starts to kind of get clouded a bit. And Veronica and I just we started to observe this quite a bit in different relationships, and you can tell like these people were just really unhappy in the relationship, but they were too afraid to end it, and they just stayed in them. Or you could tell that they were just miserable.
And a lot of that is because people are afraid of change and the unknown, because
Yeah.
like if you're not knowing what's going to happen, like if I would have been afraid of the unknown, then I probably would have stayed there stuck and not happy. But if you just take that leap of faith and just trust that everything's going to be okay. Also for me, based on what those women told me, like oh, you're going to meet someone, things are going to be good. I I trusted in that, and I believed in that. And then so to make that decision to leave for me was actually easier, because it's like I had faith in that, and that I was going to be not so much the relationship, because I didn't want to get into another relationship right away. But if it happened, it happened, and if not, then it didn't. But just to know that I'm going to be okay, I took that jump. Like, okay, like the situation, or that where I ended up going, wasn't my ideal situation that I would have wanted, but it was better than where I was. So
And we're in 2021 now. That was back in 2012, or going on 9 years now. We're going on our third year of marriage this year, and that's just almost 10 years we've
Mhm.
been together, and it's just been a growing process between the both of us. And what's been great is based on what I wanted. I wanted someone who can share in this personal growth with me, someone who would work with me. We'd go places, we'd traveling
Mhm.
and helping people, and that's something that we were able to create as a couple. And we're still growing. But don't get me wrong. Even in that process, we still had to work on our own stuff in the in
Mhm.
the, in the meantime, because what you're gonna find is as you're still working on yourself, if the other person may have to work on some things from their past as well. And so I worked on some of my stuff. Veronica worked on her stuff, and we always find stuff to always keep working on. But that's how we grow in relationships, and that's why we were able to create such a strong relationship, because we are open. We share what we feel, not right away all the time, but it's something that we say, okay, we're going to talk and let's discuss this. And a lot of the times, it's not just what's happening in the present time. It's like it's old stuff that keeps coming up, and it's a blessing because a lot of times we don't realize that they're there until they show up, and we know that they're there based on the way that we feel. We're not feeling so good. Why is this showing up? Because there's a thought process that still needs to be worked on, or some emotion that need to be released.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes a person can bring up triggers for another person, and that could be based on a previous experience that maybe happened in when you were a kid or in a previous relationship. So that's when, when you start to get annoyed or angry about something simple and you don't really know why, but that's when it's time for you to like really become aware of like why am I feeling this way and ask yourself those questions. Why do I feel this way? And why does that really bother me when he leaves his shoes under the table? So,
Putting
it's
them back
it's
on.
I didn't even know you had them off. No. No, but little things like that, like ask yourself why does it bother you? And usually it will go back to, something from a long time ago that's still there lingering. But yeah, and then working together, like Aaron mentioned, we both work together on ourselves. And what happens sometimes is when one person does the inner work just on themselves and the other one doesn't, it's almost like their vibrations change. So one person is doing all this inner work, the other one is just continuing to live, their normal life, like, the way they always did without changing anything. And eventually, it's like they go their separate ways because vibrationally they're not a match anymore. At the beginning, everything was probably really neat and fun and everything, and then after a while, when one person starts to work on themselves, the vibration just brings them apart because they're so different vibrationally, and it's almost like that person doesn't feel the same anymore. Like they're different, and
Hmm.
and it is a different energy, and you'll be able to feel that. And it's like they feel like a stranger, or they feel like I don't know them anymore, and
Yeah.
that's what happens. As we've worked with a few people, and we only worked on one, and they ended up breaking up, and it's like, oops, sorry.
We try not to take credit for that, but that's just the way
It
energy works,
happens.
because our energy is based on the way that we think, our belief systems, our emotions, how we feel about things that are around us, and that's going to dictate our behaviors, and that's what it's going to determine the results that you start to achieve in your life in any area. We're talking about relationships right now, and so the more you start to work on yourself, you start to change your perspective on things and your belief systems. And like, wow, I can attract great relationships. I understand what's unhealthy for me and what is healthy, what I do want. And you start to work on, maybe if there's insecurities or fears that you need to work through, and you break through that, and you start to feel better about you. Then what you'll notice is that that's going to start to shift. That's how your energy changes. And by law, you will attract different experiences and different people into your life. And that's how what personal growth is really all about. And that's what we help people with, is we help them to really figure out where they want to change their energy, how they want to attract different things. And it's manifestation mindset. And our manifestation mindset institute is we teach people these concepts, and they can learn to do this on their own, and they can attract whatever it is that they want, but by shifting the way that they think and letting go of old programming and old emotions that are still stuck in there, that are preventing them from having the things that they want. And one of those is in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So the more that we work on ourselves, we will start to vibrate at a higher energy, meaning that we're going to attract people that are at this level. And you'll find that anyone who's like has an energy down here, like a lower or different vibration, you'll find that like you just don't match. You can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a feeling that you'll know.
So being with Aaron for so long, a lot of times when he's not feeling to his best and he's like in a lower vibration, it's like I, without him even saying anything, like I feel it and I don't want to be around him as much. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna go do my own thing over here, and it just feels like it doesn't match. Like I don't want to be in that energy. So
Hmm.
it's like I give him his space to allow him to process, or I let him know, when you're ready to work on this or whatever is going on in his mind or whatever he's feeling. I'll tell him, just let me know when you're ready, because I don't want to push it, and I don't want to say, like, force him to work on it if he's not ready. So
Yeah, and
it's like
vice versa
give the
too.
space.
And a
Yeah.
lot of times it's not anything that's going on with us. It could be anything that I'm just going through internally, and something that might just be bothering me for the day. Because we're human. We're gonna
Hmm.
have emotional days when we don't feel at our best. But it's how do we work through that? How do we push through that? And I'm just grateful to have somebody that that I can talk to about that's open, and that's how we discuss is when there's our energies are off. It's like, okay, and it's funny because it's usually we're not low at the same exact time. It's either if I'm feeling not so great, she's doing good. If she's not doing good, I'm doing okay, and we help balance each other out that way.
Hmm.
And so it's like we're always healing each other. But I hardly ever find that we are both like in a bad space at the same time.
No, I think in the past probably, but not like after so many years. It's either
One or the
yeah,
other,
one or the other.
because
But
we've worked on so much, and that our relationship has it's we've worked on that.
so if you're planning on working on your relationship, so say you have already the relationship and you want to work on it, I would suggest to both of you to work on it together, because if you want to stay in that relationship. If not, then you'll probably go your separate ways. But to work with a couple, it takes both. So you'd have to, both of you would have to work on it together in order for the relationship to thrive. Otherwise, one's going to go one way and one's going to go the other. And before we end the show, I wanted to read a quote from Paul Coelho. I think I'm saying that right. Coelho? Coelho? I forgot. I don't know. But do you know how to say it?
I don't know. What does the quote
Okay.
say?
So it says, a relationship where you can be weird together is your best choice. And I agree with that, because a lot of times in relationships,
It gets weird.
no, in this household, but a lot of times in relationships is like at the beginning, people are like trying to be all proper and everything. And then down the line, a few years go by, and then like the weirdness comes out maybe on one person. And then like, or maybe they just are uncomfortable being weird in front of the other person. And
It's
that
like
could be
I think
anything, but
it's being
just
able to be your
be
true self,
yourself. Yeah.
rather than trying to like I gotta be
Like, it'll be
perfect
a
or
certain way.
proper. Yeah, it's like when you can do that together and be weird. It's like you that's when you feel safe in your relationships. Is when you
Hmm.
can be yourself. If you feel that you have to hide, you can't be yourself. You know, first things we always want to take a look at is why and
Hmm.
what's the fear with that, because you may not understand that. But like Veronica was mentioning earlier, is like when one person is feeling something, if the other person in the relationships, they may not understand it, but they're picking that up.
Yeah.
And so, and if it's never worked on, then that can also create tension in relationships. And so the more you work on your own internal things that are going on, the better relationships can get, and they can be stronger. And or if you're wanting to attract a relationship, you start to attract better people, nicer people into your life, and people that truly love you back and reciprocate those feelings. But it's always great that both people in the relationship work on their stuff, and that's one thing that we help out with. And if you guys are, wanting to know more information, you want to reach out to us and we can help you with that. You can just get with us at the manifestation mindset institute.com. find out about our programs, the things that we do, and we love to work with you. But until
Mhm.
then, we hope that this has been helpful information for you guys in the realm of attracting healthy relationships. It's February. I hope you guys are improving on your relationships every single day or working towards that. And if you guys have not done so, you can subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. Just hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up, and make sure you click that little bell icon so you get reminded each time when we go live.
So remember, if you want to see more love in your life, you got to be that love. If you want to feel more joy, you got to be the joy. And, just remember you're the reflection of what you're seeing in your outside.
All right. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed today's episode and subscribe to the channel, reach out to us, and we will see you guys next time.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye.